I want to make a quick contrast between Valve and Nintendo. Nintendo launched the Nintendo Switch back in 2017, and it took them 4 years before they implemented Bluetooth audio, even though fans were screaming for it for a really long time. It took them so long to implement Bluetooth audio that a lot of us assumed that it was some kind of hardware limitation and it was an impossibility for Nintendo to accomplish this task. It turns out it was just low on their priority list, and they got to it when they got to it. When you compare that to the way Valve has been with the Steam Deck, with their rapid-fire updates, non-stop changing big things about SteamOS, I cannot help but be impressed. The Steam Deck is brand new. Very few people actually have them. The one that I ordered, I'm still in line. I haven't been able to purchase it yet. The only reason that I have a Steam Deck is because Valve sent me a review unit. The one that I actually am going to buy is still waiting for me to purchase it. The Steam Deck is brand new, and we've already seen huge changes and patches from Valve, which is fantastic. One of the first things that I complained about when I got my hands on the Steam Deck back in February, I think at this point, was security. And here we are just a couple of months later, and Valve has already addressed that. Now, did they do it because I asked them to, or well, not me, but because we asked them to, or was it the plan all along? We're not going to know that, but it's really awesome to see the cadence at which Valve is updating stuff. So we've got some stuff that I want to talk about with SteamOS today, and I don't want to go through all of the patch notes because there's some smaller stuff in there mixed in with the big stuff. So we'll hit the big stuff and leave the little stuff for some other time. But let's start with the big one, in my opinion, and that's security. This is one of the very first things that I noticed when using the Steam Deck, is that there was no security system in order to keep my device safe from, miscreants or ne'er-do-wells. Well, now we have our new patch, and security is right up there at the top. I can turn it on, and I have to enter a new pin. I'm going to pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the kind of pin that you might use on your luggage. And so now I've got it turned on. So I'm going to turn it off, and we'll turn the Steam Deck back on. And sure enough, it's going to show my stupid face, and it's going to ask me to put in my code, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now I'm logged in. This is absolutely fantastic. I can also set it up so that when I switch to desktop mode, it asks for the pin. So now that I've set that up, I'm going to hold down my power button. I'll switch to desktop, and it wants me to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now it's going to switch to desktop mode. And so now we're in desktop mode. I'm going to switch back to gaming mode. And we'll jump back into the mode. This is the mode that I prefer, is gaming mode. I don't know if it worked. There we go. So now it's booting back into gaming mode, and I'm going to assume it's going to ask me for my password again. I love that animation, by the way. And it's asking for my password. Now, you might notice that you also have the option, instead of just hitting the touch screen, you can also push the buttons. So, I'm trying to keep this in focus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, it's L2, R2. There we go. And we got in on the third try. That's because I couldn't see what I was doing because I have the camera in my way. So overall, I think that is, well done, Valve. The Steam Deck has been out for not an extremely long period of time, and they've already done a major patch. It also says before showing the login screen. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. And now, when I go to log in, it's going to ask me to type in my password as well. If I want, I can reset my PIN. And I can then enter a new pin. I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel. So that's the security patch. In addition to that, they also added in new keyboards. So if I go into my settings and I scroll down to keyboards, which is right there, under keyboard, I now have the option to switch keyboards to other stuff. So right now I just have standard QWERTY, which is what I tend to use, but you also have all these other options, which is fantastic. Now, I'm not going to use any of those, but it's nice that we can. I'm going to turn on US International. I'm going to hit back, and I'm going to bring up my keyboard. So here's my keyboard. Some reason it's slow to load the theme, but now we have this little globe key, and that globe key lets us switch between the different keyboards that we have installed. So you can see up on the top the difference between the two keyboards. I'm going to close this. We'll add in Bulgarian, just because it's at the top. And I'm going to bring up my keyboard. Here's the keyboard that we're used to, or that I'm used to. And you can see that now I've changed it to the Bulgarian keyboard, which is really cool. I'm going to close that out. I'm going to turn that off so I don't mess anything up. I'm going to stick with standard QWERTY because that's what I tend to use. Now this one's pretty important to me. They also fixed an issue where you were unable to access the quick access menu or the Steam button when you were playing games that were being streamed to your Steam Deck. So here you can see I'm playing Final Fantasy XIV. That game is unsupported on Steam Deck. I know that there's workarounds, but I don't want to use the workarounds. And so what I end up doing is streaming the game from my PC to my Steam Deck. Now, I have been using Moonlight to do that because I feel like I get better performance, although right now it seems pretty good. But one of the issues is that whenever I hit that quick access button, it just didn't do anything. So you could not access your friends list, you couldn't look at any of the other settings, you couldn't even check your battery levels to see how long it was going to take you before you ran out of battery when you were streaming a game. That's pretty frustrating, and they've got that fixed. And it looks like this might be the way that I'll be able to play Final Fantasy XIV for a while, which is really, really great, because the one disadvantage to using Moonlight is that every single game has to have the same controller layout. When I play on a game streaming from my PC, every game can use its own controller layout, which is really, really great. We'll see if the performance holds up versus Moonlight. I've still have run into issues where Moonlight has been better, but I have not used Steam game streaming or I guess Steam Remote Play since this operating system update. So we'll see how that works. They also took the add friend and pending requests combined into a new single page for better handling of friend requests. So basically you hit the quick access menu, you go to your friends, and then right up here you can see that there's a button for adding a friend. There's my friend code, by the way. And so you just enter a friend's friend code right there, and if there was a request that had come in, it would be right here for me to accept as well. Valve also, this is actually really cool. There's always people talking about the fact that people sell SD cards and they say that they're a certain amount and they're not actually a certain amount. And that ran into an issue where if I wanted to format an SD card and the SD card was not reporting accurately how big it was, if you came down here and formatted the SD card, which good God, I'm not going to do that right now because it'll erase my SD card. If the SD card was advertising that it was, say, a 64 gig SD card and it was really a 32 gig SD card, this would get hung for a while and it would not do anything. So you would just be sitting there for a really, really long time waiting for it to format. Well, now it detects that and it will tell you so that you're not sitting there watching it try and format for a really, really long time. They also updated it so that if you have a large game library, it performs a lot better. And as you can see, I can scroll through my list of 600 games or so pretty quickly. It still kind of sticks, but I think maybe that's just so that they can stop at each letter and give me a chance to react. Now, I have no idea if this is going to work. According to Valve, they've added messaging so that when a charger doesn't meet the minimum requirements when it's plugged in, it will tell you. I have here my iPad Pro USB-C charger, and I'm going to plug it into the top of the Steam Deck, and we'll see what happens. And right here it says slow charger. Your Steam Deck is connected to a slow charger below the recommended rating to constantly charge your Steam Deck. Depending on the charger and what you're doing with your Steam Deck, your battery may continue to drain. I think that that's awesome, and it lets everybody know that, hey, the charger that you just plugged in is not quite up to snuff, and that's really good for the end user to know. They also added uncapped frame rate under our performance settings. So if I go in here, I can go into my advanced view, and my frame rate limit is currently set to 60. I can set that to off if I want, so now I would have uncapped frame rates. I don't know why you would do that if you are... Listen, maybe you know a good reason why to do that. Let me know in the comments down below. But if I have a screen that is capped at 60 Hertz, there's no reason for me to go beyond that 60 Hertz. That could introduce some latency by setting it at 60 Hertz, and maybe uncapping it will get rid of that latency, but I really haven't run into any issues like that. So I'm going to leave it at 60 and maybe 30 when I'm using it. This is also brand new. We have half rate shading. This applies variable rate shading to save power. So basically, if you're trying to extend your battery as much as you possibly can, you can turn that on, and it should extend your battery life. I'm not sure how much. I suppose it depends on what game you're playing. I'm going to mess with that later, and if there's more information for us to talk about in the future, I will make a video on that as well. Well, that's it for this video. Let me know what you guys think about the changes to SteamOS in the comment section down below, or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, make sure that you click subscribe and click on the bell. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Stay awesome, nerds.